I'm going to install every Home Assistant add-on so you don't have to, and after every installation I will write down the CPU, the memory and the storage usage of my test machine, which is a Raspberry Pi 5 with 8 gigs of RAM and 64 gigabytes of SD card storage. I really hope I'll not hit the roof of my testing machine, but I guess we are going to see that, and because this is going to be a very long video, you can use the chapters below. And now the first thing is to enable the advanced mode. For that I'll go to my Home Assistant username, I'll scroll down a bit and I'll enable this advanced mode switch. This advanced mode will enable few more add-ons in the add-on store which are otherwise hidden. And before we continue further, if you don't have Home Assistant yet, or if you don't have Home Assistant add-on store, then please register for my upcoming webinar where I'm talking about different installation types. Now, let's go to the add-on store. I'll press the C button on my keyboard and I'll type add-on and I'll select navigate add-on store. This will open the add-on store of my Home Assistant, and the first add-on of the official add-ons category is Assist Microphone. I'll click on it and I'll click on install, but before that let me open the system menu of my Home Assistant in another tab. System and hardware. I'll leave this tab open and down here I'll check the processor and the memory usage of my machine. At the moment I have 1% of processor or CPU usage and 0.6 gigabyte out of 8 gigabytes memory usage. I'll also open the storage. Currently 9.3% of my 64 gigabytes SD card is used. That means 5.4 gigabytes out of 57.8 gigabytes are used. I'll leave these windows open and I'll check them very often to see how these things are growing and if they're going to reach some dangerous levels. So back to the add-ons. Assist Microphone. Use Assist with a local microphone. This add-on is part of the Ear of the Voice. I'll hit on the install button and here I can check the documentation. After this add-on is installed and running, it will be automatically discovered by the Wyoming integration in Home Assistant. To finish the setup, click the following My button. Okay. Let me check if the installation is done. Yes, it is. Most add-ons have these 3 switches or even more. Some of them have more than 3, but in general most of them are having them. The first one will enable this add-on to be started on boot. That means if you reboot your Home Assistant, this add-on will also start. Second switch is a watchdog. This will make the Home Assistant to watch for crashes of this add-on and it will try to restart it if something like that happens. And the third option is auto update. That means if there is a new version of Assist Microphone add-on, Home Assistant will auto update it. Current version is 1.2 and if tomorrow 1.3 is available, Home Assistant will auto update this one, and that is very convenient, especially if you have a lot of add-ons. There is a configuration tab where you can change some of the sounds and you can select your input and output audio. You can check the logs. I'll just click on Start button and I'll hope this add-on to start. I'll also open another tab and I'll go to Devices and Services, and here it is. Assist Microphone is auto-detected by Wyoming Protocol, exactly as stated in the configuration. And if I click on Configure, Submit, Finish, I'll have my microphone configured. I can see Wyoming Protocol and one device, and from here I can control my USB microphone. Have in mind that this USB microphone should be connected to the device where Home Assistant is installed. In my case it is a Raspberry Pi 5. If that's the case, you can use this microphone. It can be a webcam also with a microphone. You can use this mic for a WakeWord, and you can control your Home Assistant using voice that way. So let me check what's happening here. It is not started because I don't have a microphone connected to my Raspberry Pi device. If I go to the hardware section, I can see a CPU spike here, but now it is returned back to normal and the CPU usage is 1% and the memory is 0.7. That is like breathing a fresh mountain air for the system, nothing complicated, and the disk matrix used space is not changed at all. Let me refresh that. Oh, it is changed a bit, 0.7% are taken after this add-on installation, and now I will move to the next add-on. I'll open the add-on store again, and the next add-on is CEC Scanner. I'll click on it, I'll hit on install, and while I'm waiting for this add-on to be installed, I'll check the documentation. Scan for HDMI CEC devices. Visit the CEC Scanner page for more details. I'm going to do that. There is not a lot of information here. This add-on allows for scanning for CEC devices. It is useful for finding the CEC address of your devices. Okay, using this add-on, you can find CEC addresses of your devices that are connected to your Home Assistant. I'll enable Start on Boot and Auto Update. I'll hit on Start. I don't believe this add-on will start as well because I have nothing connected to my Raspberry Pi 5 device, but let's see. Starting CEC client scan. And what is HDMI CEC actually? As far as I know, if you have two devices connected over HDMI cable, if they both support CEC, if you power one of these devices, it will automatically power the other one. So if you have a PlayStation connected to a TV via HDMI cable and they both support HDMI CEC, if you power on your PlayStation, it will automatically power on your TV as well. Simple as that. And let me check if this add-on is started. No, I guess that's because nothing is connected to my Raspberry Pi 5, and that's totally fine. Let me quickly check the usage. I'll close this window. I'll close this one as well. And processor is at 2%. Memory is a bit up, as I can see from this diagram. And what about storage? 0.2% more. That's not too much. I'll go back. Now I have two add-ons installed already, and the next one is deCONZ. This is a big one, and it is a great add-on if you have ZigBee devices, ZigBee Combi or Raspberry devices that can be used as your centralized ZigBee hub. Control a ZigBee network with a Combi or a Raspberry. Visit the deCONZ page for more details. I'll hit on install. The documentation is very detailed, as you can see from here. There are a lot of sections how to use, what to configure, how to migrate to this add-on if you have different ZigBee network, how to access the deCONZ application and viewing the mesh using VNC protocol. That's pretty interesting. That means you can connect to your device on this port with the VNC client and you can see your mesh network. That's pretty cool. You can upgrade your Raspberry or Combi firmware and so on and so forth. This is the official GitHub page. Last month was updated. That means the project is still alive and everything seems fine. Let me check. Is it installed? Yes, it is. Start on boot is enabled, I will enable watchdog, I will enable auto update. This is the fourth switch that some add-ons have, as I told you about. And if I enable this, a link to this deCONZ add-on will be shown in the sidebar right here. I'll click on start. After every add-on installed, I'll share my opinion. Should you install also this add-on, or you can freely skip it? And my opinion about deCONZ is, yes, you should install it if you have a combi device or Raspberry device. And of course, that's if you want to use Zigbee mesh network in your smart home. And after I clicked install, this dialog appears saying missing required option device in the configuration, and I can edit the config. And I cannot start this add-on because I don't have combi or Raspberry sticks. That's the reason for this error that I just received. And I guess this is all I can do for now for this add-on. I can also check the CPU and the storage 11.1, and I shouldn't have hit refresh here because I lose the history of these graphics. But anyways, it is still at 2% or 1%, and the memory is still at 0.7, so there is no big changes till the moment. But have in mind that all of the three add-ons that I currently have are not started. The first one because I don't have a microphone, USB microphone. The second one because I didn't connect anything via HDMI to my device. And the third one because I don't have a combi or Raspberry stick. But I'll move forward and I'm reaching the DHCP Server add-on, which is a simple DHCP server. I'm not sure why you will need such add-on. Most if not all routers have this option, and I guess it's better to use this on your router, but probably there is a scenario, there is a use case where you can use your Home Assistant as DHCP server. I enabled all of the switches here, and I'll click on start. Missing option in the configuration. I guess I have to type something here. Let me check the documentation. Set the domain, for example, mynetwork.local. Save the add-on configuration and start the add-on. Okay, let me try this. Domain. I'll hit on save. NTP is also required. Let me type my router IP. Save, info, start. Refresh. No, I guess I am not able to start this add-on as well. This is an example add-on configuration. What I'm missing, I don't have NTP server in my network. Unfortunately, some hosts are defined here, some networks are defined. Max lease time. But I cannot start this add-on. I get this network. Fail to get interface index. No such device. Not sure why exactly. I never used this add-on before. I'll say it again. Don't use this add-on unless you really know what you're doing with your network. Most routers have DHCP server embedded in them, so you better use your DHCP server on your local router. And let me check the CPU usage. 1% CPU usage, 0.7 memory, disk space. It is not changed at all. And I can continue forward to the next add-on, which is Dnsmasq, a simple DNS server. There is a Dnsmasq page. I'll close it because there is no much information there. The add-on has a couple of options available. For more detailed instructions, see below. The basic thing to get the add-on running would be start the add-on. I like that. That means I have to install it and I have to start it. This is an example add-on configuration. Some gateways are defined, some forwards, some hosts, and some services. Very detailed documentation with every option explained. If you need more info, you can find it here. I'll enable watchdog auto update and I'll hit start in hope that will be the first add-on that I will start in my Home Assistant. Let me check the log. Using name server. No, it is not started again. Why I cannot start any add-on till now? Too bad. I cannot see the error. Why this add-on is not installed, I don't know. I have to dive deep into this, but I don't have time for this and I don't want to, because again, exactly as with the previous add-on, this could be done in your router instead of Home Assistant, but in some cases you may need to do that here. I guess some configuration is missing. I didn't define any hosts, any services, any forwards, nothing. So I believe this is an issue for this add-on and it cannot start. From this 3 dots menu you can change this layout to YAML mode and you can go to the documentation. You can copy this example and paste it right here and change it to suit your needs. Let me try with the default one. No, not valid value. I'm not sure and I'll not continue forward with this add-on. I'll quickly check the usage. Oh, I hit the refresh here again. I should hit refresh here. 11.4, 2% CPU, 0.7% memory usage. Good. Let's continue forward. I'll go back. 5 add-ons till now and no one of them is started. I'm so sad. But let's continue forward. The next add-on is a DNS add-on. This is a great add-on. I love it and I have a dedicated video about this add-on and I'll link this video in the video description. It is a step-by-step tutorial of how to run this add-on and how to use it so you can enable remote access to your Home Assistant for free with a secure HTTPS connection, and everything is very easy, free as I told you, and very quick. I'll hit on install. Basically you can use this add-on along with a free DNS like duckdns.org service, and it has a Let's Encrypt support embedded in this add-on. That means you have a trusted certificate that will be auto-renewed every few 90 days or something. I'll enable watchdog auto update and I'll go to configuration. Basically you have to type your domain here or subdomains. You can get one from duckdns.org, and when you log there and when you get your domains, you also receive a token. You have to paste your token here, and after you paste your domain and token, and after you change this accept terms to true, if I remember correctly, you have your free HTTPS remote connection to your Home Assistant. Of course, you have to forward your 443 port from your router to your Home Assistant device if you want to access your Home Assistant from anywhere in the world. But everything is well described in my article and in my video. And again, the link to this video and article can be found under this video in the description. Let me try to start it, but I'm sure it will not be possible. Yes, the configuration is not filled and I cannot start this add-on, unfortunately. Let me check the CPU usage. It is not changed. 1 and 0.7 memory and CPU. Disk usage, I'll hit refresh here to check it out. 11.6, okay. Very low storage usage. I definitely recommend this add-on, and it is a must-have if you are serious about your Home Assistant installation and having a Really useful smart home. Next add-on is a file editor. This is also a must-have one for every Home Assistant user. I'll hit on install and I'll explain further. We have a documentation here, which is a very detailed one. Actually, you don't have to do anything. This will be our first add-on that will actually start. I hope. Let's see. I'll hit on refresh. I'll enable watchdog, auto update, and show in sidebar. Here it is. File editor is now shown in my sidebar. I have nothing to configure here. Everything is good, and I'll just click on start. What it is a file editor, simple as that. And using this file editor, you can edit, you can copy, you can delete, and you can upload files in your Home Assistant installation. And it is very useful because some of the configuration of Home Assistant can be done only by editing config.yaml file, as you'll see in a few seconds after this add-on is started. This is how the add-on is looking like. It is a simple text editor and file browser. We have some configuration here, for example, enforce base path. This is enabled, and if it is disabled, you will be able to browse all of your configuration folders. If this is enabled, you have access to only config folder of your Home Assistant installation. So if you want full access, just disable this and start this add-on. What's happening here? This is not started. Why? I can't believe this is not started. Something is not right. Okay, I'll restart my Home Assistant. I hope it will fix my installation. And the file editor add-on is finally started. And I can open it by either click on this Open Web UI or click on this button right here in the sidebar. It is the same. I'll open it from here, and this is it. The configuration.yaml is currently open, and I can add some lines here, and I can save the changes. From this folder button, I can browse the file system of Home Assistant. And as you can see, I only have access to Home Assistant folder and its subfolders. But if I change the configuration, as I told you before, enforce base path, save, restart, I'll be able to browse any folder on my Home Assistant, as you will see in a few seconds. While I'm waiting for the file editor to start, I'll check the disk usage. Is currently 11.6% used, and now it's 11.9. I definitely recommend this add-on. Please install it and use it. Let me check the processor and memory usage. It is not changed at all. I hit the refresh again. Silly me, sorry. I'm losing that way the history right here, but I guess in 10 minutes we'll have it again. Okay, let's see. The file editor is not started. And if I open it again, where was it? Here it is. I can go back, and here it is. This is the full tree. I can now go back and I can open anything. The backup folder, which is full of my backups, the add-on config folder, and everything is accessible using this file editor add-on. I can also upload files, I can create new folders, and I can connect this add-on to a Git. And I can have my files hosted remotely on a GitHub repository, which is very useful. And I can use versioning, and I can back up my configuration that way somewhere remotely. I'll close this. I'll not save any changes. Yes. And this is how the add-on is looking like. And let me check. The processor is going to 2% now of usage. No, it is back to 1. So this is a very good and very optimized add-on, and I recommend install that add-on in your Home Assistant. I'll go back, and this is our first add-on. Actually, Dnsmasq add-on seems to be started now. Good. So we have 3 add-ons started. Assist microphone is started. Good. The Dnsmasq and file editor are started. As you can see, these add-ons right here are gray and they are stopped. They are not started because they need some configuration entries and devices to be started. I'll hit on add-on store again button and I'll click on the git pull. This add-on by default is hidden unless you enable advanced mode from this menu right here. Where was it? Come on. Here. If this is not enabled, you will not see this add-on at all in your add-on store. I'll click on it, I'll hit install, simple git pull to update the local configuration. That means if you have your configuration somewhere in GitHub, you can configure this add-on to pull this configuration from your remote repository. I have to enter the repository here. I have to select the branch. And I have other options, deployment key, deployment users. Let's try to start it. No, it is not possible. I guess this thing is required with the star and I should enter my repository here in order to start the add-on. Let me check. The processor, the CPU and memory usage are the same. The storage is a bit higher, but negligibly higher. And I'll continue forward to the next add-on, which is Google Assistant SDK. I'll hit on install. A virtual personal assistant developed by Google. Visit Google Assistant SDK page for more details. I'll do that. Google Assistant is an AI-powered voice assistant that runs on Raspberry Pi and x86 platforms and interact via the Dialogflow integration with Home Assistant. You can also use Google Actions to extend its functionality. Okay, I guess this is very hard to configure. This probably deserves a dedicated video. Just to start this add-on, you have to do a lot of things, I guess, because I have some experience with Google add-ons till now. You have to obtain client secret, project ID and model ID. That means you have to log in your Google account, usually in the development mode, Google Actions console. You have to create a new project. This project should have a project ID. You should obtain your Google Assistant.json secrets. You have to have a model ID, a lot of things. And if you follow these steps right here, these 8 steps with some sub-steps, you'll be able to start this add-on. Very well described, but a lot of steps. You have to do them and you have to populate the fields here. And after that, you can click on Start. And you have Google Assistant SDK in your Home Assistant. It is not using any CPU and usage because the add-on is not started. And the disk space is now at 13%. Good. Let's continue forward. I'll close the not needed windows because I'm getting confused from time to time. That's better. I'll go back. And the next add-on is Let's Encrypt. I'm not sure why you need this add-on when you have a DuckDNS. DuckDNS have Let's Encrypt inside, embedded, and if you start DuckDNS, you have a Let's Encrypt certificates as well. So this is a separate add-on just for certificates, managed certificates from Let's Encrypt. I guess if you have multiple certificates, you may need that add-on. A lot of text in the documentation. Let's hit on install. Let's Encrypt is a certificate authority that provides free X509 certificates for transport layer security encryption. Okay, let's see the configuration again. I need the domain. I need an email, and so on and so forth. I guess this will not start. Yes, these fields are needed in order this add-on to start. How to use HTTP challenge, DNS challenge. Example configuration from these providers, HTTP challenge. It is a very detailed one, but again I recommend install DNS and leave Let's Encrypt unless you really need to manage your certificates. I also read somewhere that you have to manually, where was it? You have to manually issue a new certificate after it expires. Let me check. Here it is. Certificates are not renewed automatically by this plugin. That's an issue. You have to manually renew your certificates if you're using this add-on. But if you're using DNS, your certificates, your Let's Encrypt certificates will be auto-renewed, which is great. Let me check. Memory and CPU are not changed. Disk usage 0.5% more with Let's Encrypt. Okay, I'm moving forward and I'm reaching MariaDB. This is a SQL database server, and I don't recommend installing this add-on at all unless you know what you are doing. Home Assistant is using SQLite database by default, and it is located in this simple file that can be even deleted, and Home Assistant will make it again. This is it, Home Assistant v2db, and this is basically a SQLite database, and Home Assistant is using it. It is very fast, very optimized. It is well supported. If something is happened with SQLite, you will know that. And MariaDB is a not needed complexity over your Home Assistant, but sometimes it is needed. Some of the add-ons are actually requiring MariaDB in order to be started. But again, if you are not really need this, do not install it, because if you install it and if you start it, you're not going to use SQLite anymore. Your configuration will be transferred to MariaDB. I'll hit on install. Very well described add-on. This is how you can start. You have to create username, DB username and password. I actually never use it. Here it is. You have to type login, passwords, and rights. You have to give your username rights. And it is not very easy stuff, and I recommend to stay off again if you really don't need this add-on. Let me check the disk usage that MariaDB is requiring. Again, 0.5% more, and now 8.1 gigabytes are used out of 57.8. Good. Let's move forward. Add-on store. Next one is a Matter server. Good. I'll hit on install. If you don't know, I have a dedicated video about Matter, and I'll link it in the video description. Matter is the new standard. It is the new kid in the neighborhood. Apple, Google, Amazon, Samsung, Philips, and a lot of others are starting to use Matter in their new smart products. And basically this add-on makes your Home Assistant a Matter controller, and if you have a Matter enabled devices, you'll be able to connect these devices to Home Assistant using the Matter standard, no matter their brand. That means if you have smart devices from Apple, Google, and so on, you can connect them to Home Assistant using the Matter standard. And I'll enable Watchdog Auto Update. Configuration, I'll not change anything. And I'll hit on Start. and it is automatically started. This is showing the CPU usage and RAM of the add-on, but let me check these graphs right here. They are not changed. Oh, they are 5% CPU usage, and the memory is a bit up, but the CPU is go back to 2%, so everything is fine. Let me see the storage. 14.9, a bit up, but that's fine. And we can continue forward to the next add-on, which is Mosquitto Broker. Another very nice add-on. It is almost a must-have. I'll click on it, I'll click on install, and what is it actually? It is a MQTT server. And MQTT is a standard and a protocol that is used by a lot of IoT and smart home devices to communicate with each other or with the gateway or with the hub. And installing this Mosquitto Broker will make your Home Assistant an MQTT server. If I remember correctly, there is nothing to configure here. You can use the default configuration and you can log in your Mosquitto MQTT server with your Home Assistant username and password. If you don't want to use them, you have to define another logins here and a password. Everything is well described in the documentation. As you can see here, username, you should define your username here and a password in the configuration. That is only required if you don't want to use your Home Assistant username and password to connect to the MQTT Mosquitto Broker. It is started, and now if I start MQTT Explorer 2, for example, or if I have an MQTT enabled device, I can connect them to my Home Assistant IP and the default MQTT port, which is 1883, and they will start to exchange messages. So again, if you have MQTT enabled devices or you plan to use such IoT devices, you can use your Home Assistant as MQTT broker by just installing this add-on, and that's all. And you can also use your Home Assistant username and password to connect to this MQTT broker. Let me check the CPU usage. It is hitting 3% now, and memory is 0.8. Let me check the CPU, let me check the disk usage, 15.4, okay. And we are moving forward to the next add-on, which is NGINX Home Assistant SSL proxy. That is another option to enable remote access, secure remote access to your Home Assistant, and I also have a dedicated video about this add-on, and I also link that add-on in the video description. I'll hit on install. Sets up an SSL proxy with NGINX and redirects traffic from port 80 to 443. And very well described documentation. A step-by-step guide available in the video description. You have to add few options here and you have to click on start, and you have secure remote connections to your Home Assistant for free. I cannot start it right now because I'm missing some configs here, but if you go, for example, to my website pyansky.com, and if you click on this search button and if you type NGINX, you see my written article. This is the video, you can watch it, and everything is well described. Again, DuckDNS add-on is also used, so you have to install this add-on and DuckDNS add-on, and you can configure them so everything to work smoothly. Let me check the disk usage after this NGINX add-on. It is not changed, I believe. 15.4, that's great. I cannot start the add-on again, and I'll go back. OpenThread border router is the next add-on. You can use Home Assistant as such. For example, if you have Home Assistant Yellow or Sky Connect, you can configure these radios to use this thread border router. Matter standard can be used either by Wi-Fi or thread. It is well described in the documentation. You need to have a thread compatible device in order to start this add-on. I don't have such on this testing machine, and if I try to start, I'll see this error: missing required option device. I don't have device, but if I have a device such as this SkyConnect or any other compatible thread, stick or device, I'll be able to configure it that way, and I'll be able to use Home Assistant as thread border router. As stated here, this requires a supported 802.15.4 capable radio with OpenThread RCP firmware. If you're using Home Assistant Yellow or SkyConnect, then the correct firmware is automatically installed. This add-on automatically installs the necessary firmware on these systems. This add-on makes your Home Assistant installation an OpenThread border router, OTBR. The border router can be used to commission Matter devices which connect through thread. Home Assistant Core will automatically detect this add-on and create a new integration named OpenThread border router. With Home Assistant Core 2023.3 and newer, the OTBR will get configured automatically. Web interface, there is also a web interface, and everything seems very good if you want to use thread. That's the way, that's one of the ways that can be used in your Matter environment. Let's move forward. Let me check the disk usage. 15.7, I'll close this. Processor and memory are the same because nothing is started. OpenWakeWord. This is another add-on from the Ear of the Voice. I'll hit on install. We have a very good documentation. Basically, installing this add-on and configuring a new pipeline and having a device, ESP32 device with a microphone, you can use a WakeWord to invoke Assist, the Home Assistant Assist. And you can issue a voice commands towards your Home Assistant using this setup. I have a dedicated video and article that are showing how you can do this. Where it is? I'll search for Atom Echo. Here it is, setting up M5 Atom Echo for Home Assistant Assist. This is the device that can be used, and this is how you can install the OpenWakeWord. And after the installation of the OpenWakeWord, did I install it? Yes, I am. There is not a lot of configuration. You can start it that way. I'll hit on start. After you start it, it will be auto detected by Wyoming protocol. You have to configure it, and then you can create a pipeline. You have to flash your M5 Atom device, and then you can use this device and this OpenWakeWord to issue a voice commands entirely remotely. You just have to say, okay Nabu, or hey Jarvis, or whatever you wish, and then turn on the lights, for example. And basically OpenWakeWord is one of the add-ons requiring for this to happen. Let me check the used space, 15.9. Memory is up a bit, 0.9. Processor is still in the range of 2%. Good. Let's move forward. I'll close this. I will leave my website open because if we face another add-on that I have an article or video about it, I'll search it right here. This is the video, you can check it out here, and if you prefer reading, you can check this article. Everything is well described here. Okay, moving forward, add-on store, and the next add-on is Piper. Again, this is part of the ear of the voice, and this is a text-to-speech add-on. I'll click on install. Let me demonstrate you quickly. If you're going to this assist button, and if you click on this down arrow, then you can click on manage assistants, and here you can either edit the default pipeline or you can add a new one, and you can name it whatever you wish. And down here you can select speech to text and text to speech engines. Piper is such an engine. It is a text to speech engine, so after successful installation you'll be able to select it here. Now it is not available yet because it is not started, I believe. I'll start it. There is some configuration here. You can select different voices. You can select noise scale, but the default one is pretty okay. After this is started, it is not started yet. After this is started, you can open, let me open another tab. You can open devices and services, and this will be detected right here. But first it should be started. Where it is. Now the Piper is started, and if I hit refresh now, I should see somewhere here Wyoming Piper. Here it is. Configure, submit. Configure, submit. And I also configured the openWakeWord. That was the previous add-on that we installed. And now if I go back where it is here on my assist pipelines, I can click on it, and for text to speech I can select Piper. I can select language and voice, and I can use this local text to speech engine on my computer, and this will convert my text to speech. So I can use assist functionality on Home Assistant locally, exactly as described here in this add-on, in this article. So that was the Piper. It is well described here in the documentation. And let me check the disk usage, the disk matrix, 16.3 used disk space. The processor is now at 3%, and memory is at 1 GB. That means I have 7 more gigabytes free memory, which is good. Let's continue forward. Again, Piper is the local text-to-speech engine that can be used in assist pipelines, and you also have to install openWakeWord. That is optional, but also you have to install Whisper if you want to stay local only. Whisper is the speech-to-text add-on, and Piper is the text-to-speech add-on, and both of them are required by the assist pipeline if you want to stay local. RPC Shutdown, very good add-on. I'll hit on install, and I'll open my article about it. Using this add-on, you can remotely shut down a Windows machine. Here is the detailed article, here is the video tutorial that I have. Everything is well described here, but basically you have to define your computers, your Windows computers here, by alias, address, IP address, and user and password. And also you can define a message that will be shown on the logged in users and you can click on Start. I forgot to enable this, and let me check my article. Basically, I'm describing two things here, how to wake on LAN some devices and how to shut them out remotely. Home Assistant RPC Shutdown add-on, here it is. This is the configuration, and this is how you can create a switch that, if pressed, will shut down an IP, on a computer, a Windows computer, this one, A3 PC with this IP, and this could be added in any script or automation or scene or a button, and you can add this on your Home Assistant dashboard, and if you press that button, or if something happens and you want that to happen automatically, this can be done. You can shut down remotely a Windows PCs only using this add-on. Let me check the disk metrics. 16.4, nothing almost changed. No, I hit refresh here again, I lost the history one more time, but never mind, the processor is still at 2% and memory is at 1 GB. Good, I'll close some of the windows, this one, and I'll leave the rest. I'll close this one as well, and I'll go to the next add-on, which is a Samba share. Very nice add-on. I'll hit on install, and I'll go to my website. I'll hit on the search button and I'll search for Samba. Basically, I have an article and video about this add-on. This is it. But this is showing how you can backup your Home Assistant remotely on another PC using the Samba protocol. Samba is allowing you to enable sharing between different devices via the network, and using this add-on you can expose Home Assistant folders over the network to the remote computers. That's all. I'll hit on Watchdog. You have to define your Home Assistant username and password here in the configuration, and you have to save the changes before you start this add-on. I'll hit on Start, and now I can access my Home Assistant IP remotely, and I'll see shared folders and files. Let me demonstrate you. I'll open a Finder. I'll press this Connect to Server shortcut. This is Command and K. I'll type my IP here. This is the same IP of my Home Assistant installation, and I'll hit Connect. It will ask me for a username. I'll paste Home Assistant as username and Home Assistant as password because I set it that way in the configuration of this add-on, and I can click on Connect. And here it is. These are all of the Home Assistant folders shared, and I can connect to one of them or all of them. For example, I can connect to the config folder, and I'll see the config files remotely on this laptop. And these are the Home Assistant config folder and files. I can open and edit the configuration.yaml file and secrets.yaml and automations and everything. And I can connect that way to my Home Assistant, and I can upload files, I can delete files, and so on and so forth. This article right here is describing how you can backup your configuration remotely and automatically, so you will be on the safe side no matter what happened with your system. And it is a very useful automation. You can backup locally or on the Google Drive using the steps that I described here in this article. But that's the other way around. This is to share your files, your Home Assistant files and folders, to some other computers remotely. And it is a useful add-on. I used that add-on a lot in the past because that's the only way to transfer big files from and to your Home Assistant. Let me check the disk metrics. 16.4, they are not changed at all. The CPU is at 2 or 3% and the memory is at 1%. Good. Let's move forward. The next add-on is a Silicon Labs flasher. What it is? It is an add-on that will update your firmware if you have a device with a Silicon Labs based radios. Visit Silicon Labs flasher page for more details. Okay, I'll do that and I'll hit install. While I'm checking this, not much information here. By default, it comes with the firmware for Home Assistant Sky Connect and Home Assistant Yellow to flash ZigBee. Okay, so from what I understand, you can use this add-on to update your Silicon Labs devices that have such a radio. Okay, good, but I'm not sure if I will be able to start this add-on. No, because I don't have such a device connected to my testing Home Assistant that I'm currently using. Have in mind that this is still in experimental mode, so I don't recommend to install it and use it unless you really need to. Next add-on. But before that, let me check the... Whoa, 0.6% disk usage only from this little add-on. Processor is at 3 and the memory is a bit up, 1.1. Okay, I don't know, is it because of the Silicon Labs flasher, but the metrics are changed and are up a bit. Next one is Silicon Labs Multiprotocol. ZigBee OpenThread. Okay, you can choose between ZigBee or OpenThread. This add-on allows you to use ZigBee and OpenThread protocol simultaneous on a single Silicon Labs based radio. That means if you have a Sky Connect or Home Assistant Yellow, and you can install this add-on and you can use at the same time ZigBee and OpenThread using one chip, only one device, which is good. Again, have in mind that this is still in experimental state, so it may have some bugs. Architecture, very well described documentation. Let me try to start it. I doubt that I will be able to start it, but anyways, I'll hit on install. Let me check the documentation while we are waiting for the installation to finish. And this is the section for the ZigBee, this is the section for the OpenThread. Instructions, again we have a web interface, we have an automatic firmware upgrade option, very good diagram here. Let me check what happened with the installation. It is installed and I will not able to start it because I don't have Sky Connect or Home Assistant Yellow or other compatible device. And I'll move forward to the next add-on, which is TellStick and TellStick Duo service. I'm not sure what this add-on is and what it is actually doing. This add-on wraps around TellDoes core. Okay, package to expose a service for your TellStick and TellStick Duo. This integration allows users to add switches, lights and sensors which are communicating with 433 MHz. There are a number of vendors who are selling products that work with TellStick. For more details, please check the TellStick protocol list. Good. Visit TellStick page for more details. And there are no more details here. I have a configuration. House A, ID1, House A, ID2. Oh, this is a good documentation. How to use. Adjust the add-on configuration to match your devices. Save the add-on. Start the add-on. Okay, but I don't have such devices. And I don't believe it will be started. But it started. Great. Good. Let me check the log. Are there any errors here? No. It is started. No matter that I don't have TellStick devices. Fine. Let's check the disk usage. 17.8. So it took some space, disk space, and this stays the same. 2% CPU usage of my Raspberry Pi 5 and 1.1 gigabytes are used from my 8 gigabyte Raspberry Pi 5. Let's move forward. Terminal and SSH. This is the official SSH add-on that is available in the add-on store. There is another one which is in the community add-ons. Here it is. It is Advanced SSH and Web Terminal. It has a little bit more options than the official one. And Start on Boot, Watchdog, Auto-Date, and Show on Sidebar will be enabled. I don't have any configuration here. I just have to click on Start. This is the documentation, how to use. You can type HA help. You can copy the text and paste by using Shift and Insert. There is a bit of configuration after all here, but I guess it is available just now. I can authorize keys and I can set a password. This will enable remote access. I can click on Open Web UI or I can click on Terminal. It's the same. That's because I enabled this Show in Sidebar option. And if I click on it, I will access this add-on. And if I type HA help, I'll see the available commands that are supported by this add-on. It is a good add-on. I recommend it if you need it. Some of the custom components or custom add-ons are requiring this add-on. Some of them actually require the other one, the community add-on, because it has some more features and it is more advanced. But in many cases this is just enough. I'll go back and I'll check the disk usage. I'll click on refresh. Yes, 18%. We are getting closer to the end. And 4% usage, 3% usage of my CPU, and memory is 1.1, 2% usage of my CPU. I guess the Raspberry Pi 5 CPU is very efficient, at least until now. And I'll continue forward with the next add-on, which is VLC. I'll hit on install. Turn your device into a media player with VLC. Visit VLC page for more details. I'll do that. No more details here in this page, but here in the documentation there is. Actually, you have to install it and then you have to start it. There is also a VLC telnet integration, and you can see the documentation on this link. This is describing how to use VLC media player via telnet. Okay, it is installed now. Showing sidebar is also available, and now VLC is visible right here. I'll click on start and the add-on is started almost immediately. If I click on it, I can see a media player. And what can I do? Almost nothing. But if I go to the media, that's one of the default sections in Home Assistant, I can but probably because I have an empty media folder, nothing can be played on my test Home Assistant. Let me check the devices and services. This is now available to configure, and I did that just now, and I have this media player, and I can add this to my dashboard. I can create an automations, and if I play something now from this media player, it will be also displayed here on my dashboard. And good, this is a good add-on, especially if you have a lot of media files in your Home Assistant and they are stored here. I can upload a file, this one for example. This is one of my shorts, too large. 41 megabytes is too large, and this is one of the use cases where I can use Samba share add-on to upload this file in my media folder and then to use it in my VOC add-on. Because the file is bigger, I cannot upload it via this normal web interface. I'll upload this one. Is it uploaded already? Yes, it is. But it is a picture and I cannot play it using the video player. Okay, let me try the Samba add-on, media. Okay, here is my error JPEG file. I can delete it because I don't need it. And I can now upload the same file that I tried to upload before. Which one was it? Probably this one. 2.mp4 and paste here. This is a demonstration of how I can use Samba add-on that is started and configured before, as I shown earlier, and now my media should have this file. And if I go to my VOC player, how can I display my media? I don't know. I never used this VOC add-on till now. I don't know how to use it actually. I hope that this will access my media folder and I will be able to play media from there, but it is not working that way for some reason. Okay, I have a VOC Telnet browser now, and if I select it, nothing happens. This is my short video. It is working with the web browser, but with the VOC Telnet it is not working. I guess I have to read a bit more how this integration is used. You can do the same, and actually this service will control any instance of VOC player on the network with the Telnet interface activated. To activate the Telnet interface on your VOC player, please read the official VOC documentation. I don't have time to do that right now, so I'll leave it and I'll go to the next add-on. I press the C button and I'll select the add-on store, and the next add-on is Whisper add-on. We touched this add-on a bit before. It is the local speech-to-text add-on, part of the ear of the voice, and after installation and after Wyoming configuration, you can use this Whisper as a local speech-to-text engine. I'll enable these switches right here and I'll click on Start. Before start, you can change the model. This is the tiniest one and this is the largest one. The better the model, the larger the model, the better speech-to-text engine will work, but it will require more powerful machine and it will take more time if your machine is not powerful enough. That is for local speech-to-text processing. For Raspberry Pi devices, Tiny int8 is a good option to start, because on a Raspberry Pi 4, an average speech-to-text answer is above 30 seconds, which is not very convenient if you're trying to using your voice to activate something or to start or to stop something in your smart home. Again, to use this add-on, you have to go to the Devices and Services. You have to configure this Whisper by Wyoming protocol, so this to be visible in your assist pipelines. You have to go to the assist menu. You have to manage your pipelines, and you have to add a new pipeline, or you can edit your existing default one. And for the speech-to-text engine, you can now select Faster Whisper. You can select your language, and after you configure all of these stuffs around here, this is the WakeWord that is also now available because we already installed the OpenWakeWord add-on. And now if I say hey Mycroft, or hey Jarvis, or okay Nabu, the assist will be activated and it will wait for a command, voice command. And if I say turn on my kitchen lights, this speech will be converted to text. This text will be processed, and after that the response will be converted again to speech, and I'll hear something like okay, it's done, or there is an error, or something like that. And all of that can happen automatically and transparently for me, local only, and that way I can control my smart home and home assistant. Again, this whole setup is well described in this article and this video of mine. Where it is, I cannot find my article. Once again, this is it. This is well described here. You need a device like this one. It can be also another ESP32 based device with a microphone, but this one is a good option. It is costing around $15 and it is very tiny. And with that being said, I can go again to the add-on store. Let me check the disk usage. 19.4. 11.2 gigabytes are used now. CPU usage is at 3%, memory is 1.1, 4% and 1.3. Oh, good. Let's continue forward. The last add-on from the official add-ons is the Z-Wave GS. Control a Z-Wave network with Home Assistant Z-Wave GS. So if you have a Z-Wave device like TellStick 700 series or 500 series or whatever it is, you can install this add-on and you can control your Z-Wave network using it. I will enable Watchdog and Auto Update. Unfortunately, I will not be able to start this add-on because I don't have such a stick at the moment on this Raspberry Pi 5 machine where this Home Assistant is running. And if I try to start it, it will say that I'm missing such a Z-Wave device, but I have such thing on my other prod Home Assistant and it is working great. Actually, it is not requiring any configuration as far as I remember, and after you install it, you'll be able to add Z-Wave devices by going to the settings, devices and services, add integration, and you have here add Z-Wave device option, and by clicking on it you go into a pairing mode and you can add your Z-Wave device that way to Home Assistant, and it's pretty convenient. I think I also have a dedicated article about that. Yes, here it is. This is my article, this is my video. It is available on my website and on my YouTube channel. It is well described here. I even have instructions how to update your Z-Wave controller if you have EOTech Z-Stick 7 to the latest firmware, and how to add devices. Everything is described in this article. How to add Z-Wave devices in Home Assistant. As I told you, you have Add Z-Wave device option in your integrations page. And that is it. That was the Z-Wave GS add-on. Let me check the CPU and memory usage. 3 and 4%, 1.3 gigabytes. And disk usage 19.7. Good. Let's continue forward. I'll go to the add-ons store, and we have an ESPHome section by its own. It is a separate section. It is not in the official add-ons. It is not in the community Home Assistant add-ons. It is a separate section. ESPHome is another whole topic. I can have a video series only about ESPHome because it is so versatile tool. It has a lot of options. This is the ESPHome dashboard that can be installed inside Home Assistant. ESPHome dashboard can be installed in other ways, but this is one of the easiest one. And as you might guess, I have an article about that. Let me try to find it. ESPHome. Here it is. 4 different ways to install ESPHome. I have a video and an article that you can use to install ESPHome dashboard. But again, ESPHome dashboard installed inside Home Assistant is one of the easiest way. I just have to enable these switches right here, and I have to click on Start, and that's all. I have only 2 switches in the configuration section. I'll leave them as they are by default. Nothing will be changed. And it is not started. Why? What happened? That's not good. Oh, I guess I have to click on refresh again. Now ESPHome is started. I have it in the sidebar, and I can open the web UI by clicking on this button right here, or by clicking on the ESPHome button in the sidebar. It's the same. This is how the ESPHome dashboard is looking like when you have several ESPHome devices inside, and this is how ESPHome is looking when it is empty. Oh, it remembers one of my devices. Good. I can manage these devices. I can install, I can delete, I can validate it, and I can add new devices from this button right here. And I can name this device. I have a file where my Wi-Fi name and password are stored. I can update all of my devices from this button. Of course, I can edit the configuration of this ESPHome device. This is a typical ESPHome device and how it is looking like. If some of the terms that I'm using are not so clear for you, please download my Smart Home Glossary, which is full of simple yet useful explanations of the most common smart home words and acronyms. It is totally free and you can download it right now from my website automatelyke.pro/glossary. Again, automatelyke.pro/glossary. I have detailed video about this Giro BMI 160 device, and it is also available in my website. This is it, how to make a smart inertial sensor for Home Assistant for under $5. Everything is well described, and this is the ESPHome dashboard. I'm sharing everything here, including the code, including the needed components and how to connect them and everything. Everything is well described there. And ESPHome add-on is the enabler of all these things. I have more than 10 probably do-it-yourself smart sensors, and most of them are using ESPHome dashboard. Where it is, smart sensor, 23 articles, and you can check them out here. There are 3 pages of smart sensors, and most of them are using ESPHome dashboard and some ESPHome code. You need an ESP device like D1 Mini. It can be ESP32 device or ESP8266 device. And on this device you can attach sensor and you can make a smart sensor that is working with Home Assistant natively. Let me check the disk usage after ESPHome add-on installation. 1%. The disk usage is up with almost 1%. What about the CPU and memory? It is not changed. 2% or 3% CPU usage and 1.3 gigabytes of memory usage. Good. I'll close this and I'll hit on add-on store. Next we have Home Assistant community add-ons. We have a lot of add-ons here. A lot of these add-ons are super useful, like this AdGuard Home, Advanced SSH Web Terminal, Node-RED, Zero Tier, Tailscale, Tor, and many more are very useful and actually good add-ons that you may want to use, but I'll leave that for part 2 of this series. So don't forget to subscribe to my channel and you will not miss that second part. Thank you for watching. I'm Kirill and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.